guys, what is up? Welcome back to our channel. To those of you who are new here, my name is Nawfa Nurie and thank you so much for clicking on this video. In today's video, we're going to be discussing the power of forgiveness and how important it is to forgive people and ourselves in life. So without much further ado, let's get into it. When is the last time that you forgave someone for something that they said or did to you? Did it take a long time for you to forgive him or just a couple of minutes? Right? Did it come with an apology or did you have to do it by yourself? Ever wondered what forgiveness actually is? So how does forgiveness happen? When someone is hurt or betrayed you, you hold on to that feeling for a long period of time. What happens then is that you are drinking the poison and expecting the other person to die. It cannot work like that because then the offender is no longer hurting you, but you are hurting yourself by holding on to the grievance and not letting it go. So forgiveness is all about letting it go and allowing your pain to heal, allowing yourself to heal for yourself. We have to remember that no one benefits when we fester in anger, bitterness, and when we're angry, right? Especially ourselves. Many times it may be a challenge, perhaps the greatest we have ever known, especially when we feel that the offender does not deserve our compassion, but we deserve relief. So if you are someone who wants to live more fully into their potential by releasing the past, try these steps. Acknowledge your feelings related to the situation and move through the past. So when something happens and we feel angry or we feel really upset about something someone else has done, what we should do is we should acknowledge the emotions that we're feeling due to that situation in ourselves. So the more we try to understand why we're feeling this and how we can subside it, it loses its power. The anger, the bitterness just kind of subsides as well. Try to see the situation from the other person's perspective. Now, I know this may be really difficult, but if possible, try to have a conversation with the person who has really hurt you or upset you. In situations when that is not possible, try to put yourself in the person's shoes and think, why did he say that or do that, or what led the person to offend you in such a manner? So just try to be compassionate, to try to understand why someone else must have done something like this. Release your bitter feelings because you have to remember that you are not responsible for how someone else behaves, right? So nobody is born with anger and bitterness, right? We gain this along the way with the different situations that come in our life. So just release all of that and go back to pure humanity. Make a choice to forgive and commit to it. Because you know what? Forgiveness does not happen naturally. It's a trait that you have to build on. And you may need to forgive a transgression again and again until it becomes your new normal. What you have to remember is when you forgive someone, it's not that you validate their action and you say what they did is right. That's not the way. But you try to understand that there is no need to wallow in that pain and sorrow and hold the other person guilty, which just hurts you, right? So you have to choose to forgive because it's an action of love towards yourself for you to be able to live your life completely. So this means that you have to make conscious efforts to get into the attitude of forgiveness. So there are these small steps that you can do to make sure that you're practicing these things correctly. Number one is before you go to bed at night, try to forgive everybody who has hurt you that day in a minor way, right? The second thing that you can do is choose to forgive someone without waiting for their apology. It also helps for you to remember times when someone else forgave you. It's humbling. And the most important thing is to not allow your mind to dwell on actions that you've already forgiven in the past. What happens in this case is that you reopen the door and the same thing can upset you twice. Now you don't want to do that. So what you can do is you can release the offender to God. That's correct. Let God be the judge of the offense and the offender. You focus on the present rather than thinking about the past. Let the offender off the hook. Let God decide what happens. Just leave it all up to karma. And when someone hurts you, instead of cursing the person, bless the offender. Now this is one approach which I have been trying to follow since a couple of years now. Anytime somebody writes to me something mean or says something mean to me, instead of being mean back to the person, what you can do is you have to kind of realize that maybe they're struggling with something in their life because you don't know anything about their journey. We don't know how a person becomes bitter and a person becomes hurtful to other people. They might have their own thing. So definitely that's not saying that they have done something right, but bless the person, think that I hope that you find peace, love and happiness in your life. This is something that I really truly believe that we're all God's children, right? So trust that God will give us the energy to forgive someone in life and just set them free. Always remember that it's never too late to forgive. Maybe someone did something to you in university which was like years ago, and then you still think about it on and off, like situationally. So what happens then is that is something that is there at the back of your mind. Now the offender doesn't even care or doesn't even know that something is bothering you, but you are bothering yourself, right? So if you decide to forgive the person and release the person, that person may never even know that you forgave them. But you are lifting off a huge burden off of your shoulders. Just imagine something just getting off of your shoulders and now you're lighter and more free. Don't you want to do that for yourself? And always we should know that forgiveness is very healthy, because when we hold on to a revenge and fantasize about a situation where we are able to hurt the person back the way that they did to us, this kind of just increases the levels of stress in us, which leads sometimes to physical sicknesses and heart problems. Obviously, we do not want those things for ourselves. When you forgive someone, the things that you gain in the process for yourself are shockingly amazing. Let me give you a small example here. A couple of years ago, someone tried to steal some money from me, right? And it really upset me for quite a lot of time. And I was like, why would somebody want to do that? Why would somebody actually plot and plan in order to be able to steal from somebody? And that really bothered me. I was like, why? How are people brought up like that? And what do they think and stuff like that? And I really took time to kind of understand why I'm feeling so angry. But then what happened one day is that I just blessed the person that maybe they're struggling, maybe they need the money, maybe something is happening in their life, and I set the offender free to God. As I said earlier, I was like, his karma is not something that I can be a judge of, so I'm just going to release this offender. And what happened in the process is that I gained so much. I gained space and quiet, because every time I used to think of that, my mind used to have so many thoughts rushing through it, and then suddenly when I forgive the offender, I'm rid of all those thoughts. Now those thoughts don't come to my mind anymore. I also gained self-compassion, because when I forgive that person, I was able to also forgive myself for some things that are bothering me, of me hurting some people. Because you know what? We're all humans, right? In our lives, knowingly or unknowingly, we do end up hurting people at various stages of our lives. So when we can find it in ourselves to forgive somebody else, we also realize that we should find it in ourselves to forgive ourselves for anything we may have done. And I gained so much perspective on the situation, what happened and how come I fell into this trap, and what I can do in the future to make sure that I do not be prey to such situations. I gained so much gratitude in life. I was so pleasantly surprised with all these positives that I felt just by this one small act. Nothing major happened, nothing big happened, and now I'm able to forgive this person. So I'm able to recognize so many things in life. I learned so much from this situation. There was just so many things I was so grateful for, for getting rid of this experience. We always gain something in the process while forgiving somebody, and it might not always be an immediate result or a very obvious situation, but you know what? Forgiveness is really very personal. So something that happens with someone else, I can never advise them to forgive that particular situation or forgive that particular person, because it has to come from within you. Because ultimately, forgiveness takes a lot of detachment, right? You have to detach from the situation, from the person. You have to break everything down, and that's something that you have to do in your personal capability. The process could sometimes be short and sometimes it could be really long, but it's always worth it. You gain so much knowledge about yourself which you would have not known otherwise if you didn't initiate this act of forgiveness. Now, a huge part of forgiveness is actually forgiving yourself. Because we are all humans, we all falter, right? And sometimes even when we don't falter, we think that it's our fault, right? We'll be like, oh, maybe we did something wrong, that's why we got kicked out from the job, or that's why that person left us, or anything like that, right? So we really have to understand ourselves and forgive ourselves for our actions first before we can actually even move on with anything. Because if you don't forgive yourself, how will you keep going on in your life? You have to remember that whatever has happened in the past is in the past, and that cannot be changed. What can be changed is you can learn from it and you can change your future. Just imagine putting all your past mistakes into a bag and keep on adding to it every time you make a new one. It would be such a heavy burden on your shoulders. It would make you feel so drained and dragged down. Now imagine that one by one you're taking out all of these mistakes and forgiving yourself and emptying your bag. How much more lighter do you feel? And you can't forgive others if you can't forgive yourself, because you are the closest to yourself, right? You have to be your own best friend. So start the art of forgiving and start with yourself. Because if you cannot offer your own self-compassion and forgiveness to yourself, then how will you be ever able to share it with other people, to forgive other people? Forgiving ourselves gives us the opportunity to truly recognize ourselves, both our virtues and flaws. Because we know that all humans have both the traits, right? Nobody is absolutely perfect. There will be situations in life where you might feel that you faltered, and that's actually absolutely okay. Because you know what? Our mistakes, they do not define us. What defines us is how we pick ourselves back up again and learn from our mistakes and move on correctly. So to sum it all up, I would just like to say that it's really important that we all understand and recognize the whole term forgiveness, because so many times we don't realize that holding on to something, whether it's against somebody else or ourselves, is really actually damaging us. But when we're sitting in those quiet hours and something randomly comes up in our mind and upsets us, that is a sign to recognize that there is something that is hurting you. There is something that is there in your subconscious mind which is causing this reaction of stress or, anger or resentment. Anything. There is a vast difference between forgetting and forgiving. So be careful, because when you forgive someone, you do not accept their action, right? You're understanding that they faltered, and that's why you're forgiving them. So you're not forgetting their action at all. In fact, it's very important to remember that what has happened, what situation has occurred, so you can learn from it and make sure that it doesn't happen with you again. Forgiveness is how you channel old pain for new growth. Forgiveness is accepting that what happened has happened in the past, and that your power doesn't lie in changing the past, but in empowering the present. So this is the time, take your power back. This is the place, make the difference. That's all for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed watching it and you found it helpful. Do let me know in the comment section below what are your thoughts on this whole topic. I would love to read more. If you've liked this video, then give it a huge thumbs up, and don't forget to share it with your friends and family. Please hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon while you do so you do not miss out on any of my video notifications. I'll see you super soon with another video. Till then, you guys take care.